Yo, what's up? What's up, everybody? Back with another YouTube video. Biggest swing trader in the building, type shit. All right. Okay. So today we're gonna go over whatever I want to go over. So, drop some video requests that you want to see in the comments below. Today I'm gonna go over buys and sells of stocks I bought. Yeah, that's about it. Actually, I'm gonna do my biggest winners first. So, starting out with NVIDIA, let's cover how I've bought this and sold this. Okay, so back in this, so SPY was downtrending right here. NVIDIA ends up recovering, comes above this 50 moving average, and then has this setup, which is a hard one to catch, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you didn't catch this, it's really not that big of a deal. This was a harder one to catch, but there was a setup. And it was right here. So I bought through the trend line break, or you could have bought through the high of this candle right here. I bought through the trend line break of this day. So that was my first buy for this stock. I then used the 510 EMA to sell that position, and when I actually built into this position. So, and here's the reason. So I actually risked 1% on May 3rd, and that's actually pretty interesting because if you actually look at the market at the time, there was no way to know the market was about a bottom, right? If you look at May 3rd, well, the market ended up gapping up with NVIDIA, but if you look this area right here, this just looks like shit. The reason I knew NVIDIA had a high chance of working is because if you look at May 1st, TMDX actually had an EP over this range, and it actually followed through. So now that gives me conviction to take NVIDIA. So I ended up buying NVIDIA on the 3rd. And so keep this in mind. We're going to do a couple things here. So I bought NVIDIA on the 3rd. I'm selling with the 510 EMA. NVIDIA the next day, May 6th, it follows through. I actually took Dell on May 6th. So while NVIDIA broke out, Dell actually gave a thin day, and then that gives me confirmation. So TMDX follows through, NVIDIA breaks out, Dell gives a setup. So now I'm like, okay, now the market's starting to shift here. Let me buy Dell. So I buy Dell, 1% risk. I ended up getting like a 2% stop loss. I bought it like a little bit before this, but I got a 2% stop loss. And then on Dell, I'm now using a 510 moving average trail. So now, and then I know Dell's a winning position because if you look at May 6th on NVIDIA follows through and closes at highs. So now I have TMDX following through, I have NVIDIA following through, and I have Dell working. That's three buys in a row that all worked. That's confirmation to start turning it on a little bit. So what happens, I'm going to actually add Dell dispositions list real quick just to make this easier. So what happens is now Dell starts grinding up. It actually gives another pivot right here. This is a breakout retest. 50% of stocks do this. So it'll break out, retest the breakout. But if it holds the breakout, even better confirmation, gives a thin day. You could have actually added to this thin day. I didn't. I was comfortable. I had like a 50% of my account in the position. Do I wish I had more retrospective? Kind of. But like at the time, it was a good position. And so, yeah. So Dell, NVIDIA go sideways the same day. The next day, so thin day May 7th on NVIDIA, thin day May 7th on Dell. The next day, Dell then breaks out. So now Dell is following through while NVIDIA is going sideways. That's completely fine because NVIDIA broke out first. Meanwhile, NVIDIA is actually setting up another setup. So what do? I buy NVIDIA. I buy a 2 to 3% risk. I can't exactly remember, but I bought 2 to 3% risk this day. Why did you do that? Leading stock, it's at highs. Stock is at highs. Dell is following through. TMDX is following through. And then another stock, ASPN, also followed through. So now you have a group of working stocks in the market. That's confirmation to start getting aggressive. So at that point, I was now over 100% invested while the market was still near a bottom. I mean, we were like just sitting right at the beginning of this rally. whenever I was getting super invested, which is exactly where you want to be. You want to be in early, out early. Get in before anybody else, out before anybody else. And then so I risk even more on NVIDIA. NVIDIA breaks out, works, that's confirmation. Dell actually gives an oops up setup on the 14th of May. If you guys don't know what that is, the stock gaps below the previous low of the day, fills that low, and funny enough, the next day after the oops up, I actually could have added here. I did not add here. I just trailed with the 510 EMA. It actually gapped up 11%, so I wish I would have added, but it didn't happen. And here's the reason I use the 5 EMA to sell, guys, is because if you look at this from my buy point, it just held the 5 EMA the whole time. Even on this gap down, I never panicked. I kept my stop loss low of the day, never changed it. And it closed above the 5. Next day, it gaps up. Now I have a big cushion. Perfect. NVIDIA at the same time is still working. It's going sideways. So now let's talk about earnings. So NVIDIA now is going into earnings, right? May 23rd's earnings. Dell at this point, before May 23rd, Dell's made a massive move. Dell gave another setup. It worked again. It's held the 5 EMA the whole time. NVIDIA, going into this, I'm like, should I hold through earnings? Well, here was my thesis with that. This company, if you go to a weekly chart, guys, yeah. If you look at a weekly chart, guys, this is a stage 1 base on the video right here. So you have the first leg up, you have the second leg up, and right into this earnings, this was earnings right here, or one of these days was earnings. If you actually look at it, so if you read O'Neill's book, stocks typically give 3 weekly legs up. After the third leg, it becomes less likely that the stock will make another leg. So you have first leg, you have second leg, and it was making another weekly base going into earnings. So what is that telling me? Well, this is a super fast growing company with great earnings. They were doing triple digit revenue growth. And then now we're on this third base, meaning this should give a third leg. So I actually held my full position into earnings, knowing all of that in the back of my mind, and caught this entire gap up. And then I actually added on this day. You could have bought it. You could have added on the episodic pivot because it gapped up above this base. I didn't do that. I added the second day, which worked out great because it ended up gapping up again. I still have my full position to this point. It still has not closed under the 5 EMA. I then sell my whole position on the 6th because it had 1, 2, 3, 4 gap ups in a row. I wasn't comfortable with that, so I sold my full position. I ended up buying my position back this day because at this point now I knew this wasn't a parabolic top because it went sideways 2 days, which is exactly the action I wanted to see. So I bought back this day. Now I'm back at a profit. I didn't buy back my whole position, but I bought back about 30% of the position. So very good. Dell, let's talk about high managers. Dell. So I'm still in the video currently right now. Dell, and the video is getting a little bit long, so I'll wrap it up around here. Dell bought this day, right? Oops up setup. I could have added. I didn't add. I should have added. And then Dell gives this super, super tight pivot right here, right into the 5 EMA. I bought it after hours through this trend line break on this pivot. 1, 2, 3, 4 touches. Bought it through this. Gapped up the next day. My stop loss was my add, which never got touched. And then this went into earnings. So for this earnings, I had the same thesis as NVIDIA. I thought, okay, the stock's going to make another leg up. No way it fails. This should keep going. However, it's getting a little extended here. And you have to think, if a stock is at all-time highs, is it really going to make another gap to a more all-time highs? So on earnings day, on this day right here, I actually sold half my position before earnings came out, like 5 minutes before. And then if you go back to the earnings, I sold it on like the earnings breakdown. So if you sell after hours, what you can do is you can just wait for like the first candle. So like earnings was starting to come out right here. So as soon as it took out this low right here, on the low on this candle, I just sold my full position because I was like, you can hold in through earnings, but if you're going to hold in through earnings, you have to be ready to sell like that because you don't know if the stock is going to gap down on you. So I ended up selling the rest of my position right here. So I sold half right here, the other half right here. I knocked down a really nice profit on this stock. It's my second biggest trade of the year behind NVIDIA and ARM. I ended up taking, it was about a 40% to about 30% profit on this thing. 30 to 40%. Very nice trade. I'm going to go over one more, just ARM, and how I bought this and why I bought this. So it has a breakout right here. The market was pulling back these 3 days, and ARM was holding this breakout. That's screaming strength to me. So I actually bought on the close of this candle because I'm anticipating SPY's down 3 days in a row. Market's getting oversold, so now we get a bounce. Ended up being exactly right. Market bounced. This thing gapped way above my buy, so I can move my stop loss immediately to break even. So I have my first position right here, trail the 510 EMA. I added my second position on this oops up reversal, gap below the low, added through the low, and then now it's even higher, still trailing with the 510 EMA. If this gaps up tomorrow, I'll sell just like NVIDIA. I'll sell a portion into strength, buy it back on a pullback, and then, yeah, make a bunch of money. And that's about it. So let me know if there's anything else you guys want me to cover. I bought FSLR on this pivot right here, just 1% risk. I could have bought more on this breakout. I ended up not doing that, but this was powerful. It was holding up while the market was pulling back, made an explosive move, went sideways, making its next leg up. This is only leg 2, so this should have a third leg. And if you actually look at the weekly, this is actually only the first leg on the weekly chart, which is even better. This thing, nothing says this thing can't hit for $400, $500. So that's it. Let me know what other videos you guys want me to go over. Like, what do you guys want me to record? Entries, exits, just let me know. I'll just do it. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope this was informative. See you later.